So I made a video not too long ago about CPS corruption and my experience with it in Florida, and how there were people in my inner circle, we'll call it my counterparts, mother, for example, sister, who are Eastern Stars, if you know what that is. And we're just gonna get real because they're trying to paint me as mentally ill anyway, so I might as well tell the fucking truth. Doesn't really matter what I say, does it? Nope. All right, so we're gonna delve in a little bit into the mechanics of what they did, how they did it, and how illegal it was. And yes, I've got lots of evidence. So I'm probably gonna do like a screen share thing. So just a recap, my children were illegally taken by CPS with no legal authorization, not real authorization. They had not done any investigation. My counterpart had gotten arrested for a possession, and this is at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, bond him out at like 9, 10, and a CPS quote officer is there waiting for him. Says she wants to talk to all of us together, meaning me, the children, him, blah 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 blah. Okay, so we don't answer this lady's call later on that day when she leaves us a voicemail. And we weren't planning on talking to this lady until we spoke with my attorney, and we were going to have him speak to her. We already knew all about CPS. You know what I'm saying? We already knew what time it was. So less than 48 hours later, we were coming out of a Walmart, and my car was blocked in by a police officer claiming that they were there to take the children. And we're not stupid. We say, you got a warrant? Oh, somebody's bringing it. So the police officer, one of them, I think the lieutenant, it was like the highest that was there, sat in his car for about 45 minutes while we were waiting for this CPS officer to come and bring the quote warrant or the court order. Mind you, there has not been an investigation. It's not even been 48 hours since the incident. There was no danger at any point. When my counterpart got arrested, the other officers gave me a field sobriety test. They talked to me. You know, they thought that I was safe and put so in the police report, that I was not intoxicated. I was fine to take care of the children. And that was it. That's all that had happened so far. So while we're waiting for this CPS officer for 45 minutes, the officer that was sitting in the car says, hey, I got the warrant. It's on the computer. Okay, so my counterpart goes over to look at it. I stay with the kids. He's calling him out. He's like, that's not even real. That's not legit. Like, we know our shit. Okay, we're not stupid. So, and the officer gets mad and slams the computer shut. Well, I don't have to show you anyways, blah, 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 blah. So now I'm going to show you what this, quote, court order that he clearly typed up in that 45 minutes in the car looks like. Okay, so this is the, quote, court order on the computer. This is an actual picture of the computer that he was showing us because we took pictures. I actually have this whole thing on video, the whole encounter on video, still to this day. I got to figure out how to get it onto a computer or something, but I got it. So obviously I blocked out my child's name. Now here's another thing. This fake court order that was typed up only had one of our children's names on it. Do you know why that was? Because there had been no investigation, and because when the officers that came with no court order that said they were going to take the children, we said the fuck you are, asked my daughters their name. My older one gave it. My younger one said, I don't know. So they didn't know her name. Okay, that's important. So, and then we're going to go to the next one. Also, there's no case number. It's just blank. That's weird, because there wasn't a case yet. The case hadn't been opened. Next. This is the judge's signature. It is a box. It is typed. The name is typed through the line, and it says County Judge, Circuit Court Judge. If you've ever seen anything that is supposed to be legit, that's not it. Also, none of these documents were had what's it called, certificate of service on them, and they were never e-filed. No. Now, when you have an electronic signature on a document, particularly something important like a court order to pick up children or a warrant, you would, if it was typed out like that, which is very unlikely, there would be like a little / right before the name. You know what I mean? There would, usually it's like a picture of the judge's signature. I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. This is bullshit. Like, they manufactured that in the car. You know what I'm saying? It says PDF on top of the fucking computer screen. Okay. Okay, so like I said, he got mad when my counterpart called him out on the bullshit and slammed the computer shut and was like, I don't have to show you. Okay, so we waited another, probably at least an hour. We were there for probably at least 3 hours. I'm not even kidding. They wouldn't let us leave. At one point, I said, are we being detained? And they said, yeah. And I said, for what? And then they said, oh, well, actually, you're free to go, but the children are not. Like, okay, all right, okay, sure. Obviously, delusional, right? So I even called my mother to have her come pick up the kids. And when she got there, they wouldn't let her take them. I'm sorry. No investigation, no actual legal documents, no probable cause. They don't even know my child's name. Okay? And now my mom can't take them? Okay, yeah, this is legit, right? All right, so when this all summed up, you can go back and watch the whole video. I have like 5 parts where I tell the whole story, and maybe I'll do another one. I'll try and link them below, for the details and stuff. We're just getting into the documents and stuff now. So when they finally basically talked us into letting them take the children because we felt we had no choice, and after they guaranteed that they were going to a family members of theirs, not in the foster care, we kind of felt like that was a better option, because otherwise we've been arguing with these cops for hours. Like, we're, from our point of view, we're like, they're just going to arrest us, they're going to take the kids anyways, and then we're really fucked. You know what I'm saying? So when that finally happened, they gave us the little pamphlet. If you've dealt with this, you'll know what I'm talking about. They get a pamphlet, and it's supposed to tell you when your shelter hearing is, because you, by law, are required to have a shelter hearing within 24 hours. So you can go in front of the judge. The judge can tell you what the allegations are, and you could say, I did it, I didn't do it, and they can go on from there. This is what our... All right, so I blocked out some of the names just for now. I don't want to like get this shit flagged or whatever. Like, I really don't care. Like, I'll name names, you know what I'm saying? But just for the sake of the internet, temporarily, I blocked out names. So you'll see the shelter hearing part where the date and time and courtroom is empty. Weird, right? And then we have a first name of some CPS psychopath that is obviously into, when you're driving a car and there's like a whole bunch of other cars and you're like bumper to bumper, that, and then there's children. Okay, obviously, I mean, the whole freaking enterprise is. So, and then we have some phone number. We got her supervisor's name, who is also a corrupt, lying douchebag. And then some number that you can't even fucking read under that. And, okay. Florida law authorizes court action if a child is hidden or made unavailable for the purposes of delaying or avoiding an investigation. The law requires you to notify the CPI within 2 business days if you move or your child location, blah, blah, blah. Okay? It had not even been 2 days since the investigation started. Okay? They hadn't even talked to us yet. So nonetheless, like, 2 days since we moved the child. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, no, because they tried all sorts of excuses when we battled them in court for 9 months. And that was one of them. Oh, they were evading CPI contact for less than 48 hours. Right. Okay. So I couldn't get a hold of this CPS officer that's full of shit for 2 days after my children were taken. I didn't know where they were for sure. I suspected it, but nobody would tell me. Nobody would let us talk to them, see them. When I finally did get a hold of her and I asked her when we could go speak to the judge, she told us that we did not get a shelter hearing. I'm sorry, what? Because I've been doing extensive research on child welfare laws, and it says we do. Okay? And she says, no, we had that the day before. What do you mean the day of the incident? The day before you got the children in your custody, you had a hearing on where to shelter them. Okay, it gets better. Okay, so Florida statutes say when a child is taken into custody, the department must review the removal, and if facts are sufficient and the child is not returned, file a petition, and the department's attorney shall request a shelter hearing be held within 24 hours after the removal of the child. That's Florida Statute 39.401, Section 3. Florida Statute 39.402, Section 8A. A child may not be held in a shelter longer than 24 hours unless an order so directing is entered by the court after a shelter hearing. Florida Rules of Juvenile Procedure, Rule 8.305. The Juvenile Procedural Rule Set implements the statute and sets forth the court's responsibilities at the shelter hearing. Notice, finding the courts must make order that the rule and committee materials make clear the shelter hearing is the initial judicial review required after removal. Now, not only did we not get a shelter hearing, we didn't get served with anything. There's no process of service. All of these documents that I'll show you, none of them have certificate of service on them until the trial. and most of them were not even electronically filed. Some of them are handwritten. Okay, this case, when I tell you it was a fucking circus, it was the most illegal thing. Like, anybody with any kind of knowledge of law, even how it works, not even like an attorney, that would see this, what I'm about to show you, would be like, how in the did this get passed the first day? And I even appealed it, okay? When I tell you this shit is corrupt, bro, if you know, you know. Okay, and if you don't, you about to learn today. All right, so next. Okay, so this is the order to take child into custody. Okay, now let me explain this to you. So when they had that fake court order with my daughter's name on it, the one that the cop typed up in the car while he was sitting there for 45 minutes, because they didn't know my younger daughter's name, we obviously made a huge deal during the 9 months we were fighting them in court over the fact that my other child's name was not on the court order. So even if that had been legitimate, which there's no way in hell that it was, they still kidnapped one of my children, okay? That's just one aspect of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so, and let's see. I think in November, so this happened in May, okay? In November, finally, they showed up with the court order for my other child, which they had the whole time, of course. They were just trying to locate it. Okay, now let's look at this one. Okay, this one is filed with the stamp court filed. The case number is written in, handwritten. Why is that? Once again, because they didn't have a fucking case number. Okay, because there was no case. They made it all up. So let's see. So next one. Okay, and then that was the judge's signature on the bottom of it. Doesn't look like the other one, does it? It doesn't look like a made-up stamp with no actual legitimate authority behind it. It actually is worse, if anything. That is a scribbled signature that you can't read. Under it, it says circuit court judge and nothing else. Right, that's legit. So this is my younger daughter one that was supposedly they had the whole time. And then, again, this is the one from my older daughter that was completely also illegal and bullshit, fraudulent. Okay. So another thing that they did is when we went to the Walmart that they blocked us in from leaving illegally, they found us there by pinging our phones. You know what that means? That means that they use their official means of tracking, GPS tracking, to pin your location, GPS location on your phone, okay? Which you cannot do without, 1, a court order, 2, that person's permission, which they sure the fuck did not have, or 3, some kind of like emergency situation where somebody is about to die, basically, okay? You think they had a court order? No. What I'm going to show you now is the FSFN notes from this case, which is so, like, it's just, the whole thing is completely forged, altered, messed with the whole case. Okay, so this is the notes that they take from the beginning of the case, and even before that, if you've had like past, run-ins with them, and then it just keeps going. They just keep taking notes. Okay, there's ones in there that the dates are wrong. Like, they're supposed to go in order because they're supposed to keep adding notes, and they went in and added shit back in. Like, when I'm telling you, these people did the most. Okay, so it's kind of blurry because it's a screenshot, but it says Sergeant, whatever the fuck his name is, attempted to ping the parents' phones, ping them to the Walmart, and surveillance video was seen with them, blah, blah, blah. So that, I think that was the day before, so they pinged us twice. So the second time they did it was also at Walmart. And children were recovered with the assistance of law enforcement after pinging the parents' phones. The children were taken into custody pursuant to the pickup and shelter orders in place with a relative. Okay. All right. The only thing that's correct about that is that they pinged our phones to the Walmart, that they illegally blocked us in, and that illegally seized our children without court authorization. Okay. Okay. Now, these are Florida's laws on what you need to ping somebody's phone legally. Okay. There must be a legal authority, either consent of the device owner or a court order, warrant for law enforcement use of tracking device application under statute 934.425. For law enforcement to obtain a ping, they typically need probable cause, which they didn't have, a court order or a warrant, which they didn't have. Specifically, particularly, and the warrant would have to state probable cause to make it have any authority behind it, which it didn't if it existed at any time. Exigent circumstances, that's what it is. Imminent danger of death or serious bodily injury. I don't know why I couldn't say that. Okay. Okay, so this is just the very beginning of our case, okay? We were absolutely set up at this hotel that the incident even occurred at, okay? I was sleeping, all four of us were sleeping, and I woke up to a man in my room that I didn't know saying that the door was open, and then all of a sudden, in the case, the facts of the case, it says like me and my counterpart were like passed out, like making it sound like we were on drugs in a caretaking role when really like all four of us were sleeping because it was like 11 o'clock at night and we had been at the beach all day, and people do that. You know what I'm saying? So for starters, I highly suspect that somebody's mother that is Eastern Star and also used to work for the Department of Children and Families, would just add that in there, had something to do with that also. I intuitively suspect it also. Okay, so after that, obviously the rest of this was just a mess. So no investigation. They went to our home and talked to our neighbors and our family, told everybody that we were on drugs, and then put us as transient on our paperwork when they were forging all this shit, like acting like they couldn't find us. Even though, the water bill, the electric bill, everything, like our benefits at the time went to that address and all our stuff was there. And no, they couldn't find us. We were transient. Okay, right. No court order, no warrant, no investigation, no shelter hearing, never served with anything till like, I'm gonna say like 6 months in. And I'm not even kidding. No certificate of service on any of this shit. We weren't process served, which you have to do, or the case has no subject matter jurisdiction, for starters. We didn't get served with anything. Never. Because we didn't have a shelter hearing. They just skipped that whole part because they knew that if they would have gone in front of an actual judge, not the one that they pretended like signed the paperwork, that they would have been fucked. And what I'm going to show you on the next video, it gets even better. Okay, I have handwritten affidavits, like, these people are demons. Point blank period. They work all together in the justice system. There's clerks. The whole DCF, basically, at least 90% of it, the attorneys, probably the guardian ad litems, at least 50 to 90% of the guardian ad litems, I would say. Because if you are not a corrupt demon that doesn't mind selling people's offspring, then you will not work for DCF or CPS for more than a few months probably, but not more than a few years. If you are still working for them and you have worked there longer than that, you are knowingly selling people. It is what it is. They get bonuses for keeping families apart, for getting children adopted, and for meeting their quota of children that they make dependent. Look it up. Facts. 100% serious. It is a cover for a ring. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? It's unacceptable. It needs to be dismantled immediately, and I plan on doing my part in that extensively.